What's going on, everyone? Welcome into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, going over Mel Kiper's draft grades that he handed out for all 32 teams. So we're going to look and see what he said about Atlanta's draft haul, look at his grade, and kind of break down the picks and the notes that he added on. Now, before we look at Mel Kiper's grade for Fontenot and Company, we picked up a whole bunch of new subscribers this past weekend during the draft. 467 and counting. So hey, if you are a new subscriber, don't only just subscribe, but also turn your notifications on. That way, anytime a video goes out, breaking news, a signing, a release, whatever it may be, you are not in the dark. So hit that notification bell icon and select it to all. So with that being said, let's remind everyone about the haul that Atlanta had in Kansas City. Of course, starting off with a firework type pick in Bijan Robinson, the running back from Texas. They go Bergeron, the new left guard out of Syracuse, Zach Harrison and Clark Phillips on the defensive side, and then a pair of 7th round picks. So Mel Kiper gave the Falcons a B-. That kind of stings, right? That is tied for the lowest grade of any team that was drafting in the top 10. When you've got the number 8 pick in the draft, you're supposed to kind of kill it, right? When you've got that one of those premier coveted top 10 picks, you're getting a top 10 player, you should probably do better than a B-. Now, that's just Kiper's grade. These grades always look super dumb and silly in a few seasons because some of the great draft experts out there gave the Chiefs a C- for drafting Patrick Mahomes. That looks pretty dumb right now. So this easily could be a bad take that Kiper has in 2 or 3 years if Bijan Robinson is the NFL rushing leader, which he very well may be, even his rookie season. He's got that type of talent, if you will, stepping onto the field. So the question is, they went Bijan over Christian Gonzalez and Jalen Carter, and they didn't address wide receiver in the draft. That is why this draft grade is tanking down or is sinking down or being, weighted down, if you will. Because Bijan's great, but you had some big needs, and I don't know if Atlanta really filled those needs in the draft. Here are Kiper's grades for all the teams that were drafting in the top 10. I also include the Titans because the Texans had 2 top 10 picks. Carolina and Houston and Indy all got Bs. Seattle and Arizona in the A category. I think the Seahawks really killed this draft. Witherspoon and JSN, those are 2 great players. The Raiders also got a B-. Them and the Falcons were the only ones to get B- in the top 11. The Eagles crushed it. They got an A. Chicago and Tennessee both got B+. So, of course, the premier pick was Bijan Robinson, and that's going to heavily influence your draft grade for Mel Kiper. Here's what he said. For a team that went 7-10 and has more than a few roster holes, I just don't get it. If Atlanta was a Super Bowl favorite, okay, go for a luxury pick in the top 10. I wouldn't love it, but I get the logic. Look, Robinson is a tremendous prospect. He might win Rookie of the Year in Arthur Smith's offense, but the Falcons could get 90% of his production from Algier and a couple of day 3 options. And Mel Kiper's not wrong, right? Tyler Algier was a 1,000-yard rusher last year as a 5th round pick. So let's say Bijan rushes for 1,200 yards in his rookie season, and Algier would have rushed for, in those same amount of carries, right, in an alternate universe, 1,000 yards, right? 200 less yards. Is 200 yards worth a number 8 pick in the draft? That's the question, right? Bijan, in my opinion, he might be the exception to you needed a lot of help at edge rusher and at other spots like cornerback, but you could be getting a future football Hall of Fame player in Bijan. I know that sounds so early and premature to say, but if I told you he's going to have an Adrian Peterson career minus a certain incident with his son, would you guys be on board with the pick? Because I think he's got that type of career ceiling. When you look at what Bijan did in his final season in Austin, 1,500 yards and 18 touchdowns. Like, you guys know these numbers by now. He is the most well-rounded back we've ever seen. He is simply like making a running back in Madden and making him 99 at everything. He doesn't have a glaring weakness. He doesn't have something that really sticks out that GMs might worry about. He is going to step on the practice field and be the best running back and might be even the best player on offense as a rookie. He's that talented, so I could see why Fontenot fell in love with him at number 8. Kiper also added this, by the way. Smith said, that's Arthur Smith, said Thursday night that Robinson is a lot more than a running back, but that doesn't make this a good selection. They could have gone with cornerback Christian Gonzalez or defensive tackle Jalen Carter or edge rusher Nolan Smith and gotten better value. And that's a fair point to make. Like maybe this Falcons team would have been better with Jalen Carter and Tyler Algier versus Bijan Robinson and Zach Harrison. So if you could have redone the draft, who would you have picked at number 8? Would you stick by the Bijan Robinson pick, or would you have gone with Jalen Carter, maybe Christian Gonzalez or Nolan Smith? What would your selection have been? Let me know in the comments section. Moving on to their next draft pick. This is Matthew Bergeron. Might be a player that I have an all-time bad take for because my raw reaction was pessimistic about drafting and moving up a tackle and moving him to guard with Osiris Torrance still on the board and hoping it's going to be a smooth transition. You moved on from pick 110 to go from 38 to 40, to go from 44 down to 38. Now, what's interesting is Dallas was debating between Mozzie Smith, who they ended up drafting, and Bergeron. So clearly, it wasn't just Atlanta that had a big hard-on for the Syracuse left tackle and saw him as a future player on their O-line. Kiper added this. Elsewhere, I like the addition of Matthew Bergeron, who it seems will move to guard for the Falcons. He started 39 games at tackle in college. Right now, I think if there was a game this Sunday, this would be your starting 5 up front. Matthews, Bergeron, Dahlman, Lindstrom, and McGarry. Guys, that is a top 5 offensive line, and it might be closer to 1 than 5. Like the Eagles and Browns are the only other offensive lines that I think can really give it a good run for its money. So with that being said, Desmond Ridder, come a little bit closer. You are now a professional handoffer. That is your job description, to give the football to Bijan, Algier, or CP84. That's the gig, I think, for Desmond Ridder in 2023. I know that might not be a great way to learn if he's your franchise quarterback, but I think there's a good chance Atlanta rushes the football over 30 times a game. They are simply going to beat teams to a pulp in the trenches, and that is the strategy. We don't have an elite quarterback? Fine. An elite running back, an elite offensive line? We will play 90s NFL, and we will beat you guys, and you will walk away with a bloody nose. That appears to be the strategy, and I don't necessarily hate it. I know it's fun to throw the football in 2023, but if you've got Bijan in that offensive line, you're going to put up numbers. All right, we're going to talk more about Kiper's draft grades in just a moment. But hey, Bijan Robinson jerseys are out, and the word on the street is he is wearing number 7. Talking about an elite running back number. I don't think many can pull it off, but Bijan might be able to. So get your own jersey at chatsports.com/BijanATL. As for the next selection Atlanta made that Kiper factored into his grade, Zach Harrison, edge rusher out of Ohio State. Pick number 75. He was the 12th edge rusher, so you kind of get what you pay for, right? You waited to get the number 12 edge rusher off the board, you might be getting the 12th-ish best edge rusher. We know that drafts never go in order in terms of real talent in future years, but this is what you get for when you wait till pick 75. So Atlanta, who had 21 sacks last season and was the second lowest in the NFL, you could argue might have made this a bigger priority in the draft. Kiper saying, one question I have coming out of this draft for the Falcons, who's rushing the passer? I don't see a vastly improved defensive depth chart. Calais Campbell, who will turn 37 before the season begins, is not going to get them 10 sacks. Third-round pick Zach Harrison had just 3.5 sacks at Ohio State last season. He has great size and frame. Just the production and the bend/first step is not there. Now, the good news is Atlanta's defensive coordinator was the Saints' defensive line coach. I hope he can bring the most out of a great mold in Zach Harrison, who's got the size and weight you look for as a 5-technique defensive end. He's just got to turn him into a multi-sack guy north of 3.5 like he was in Columbus. So who do you think the best pick was for the Falcons, right? Who was your favorite selection that Terry Fontenot made? Give me that name down in the comment section. I'm going to give you mine, but first, let me know who yours is in the comment section below. Off the value alone, I just love the Clark Phillips pick. I think this is going to be a fan favorite. He is going to be a ball hawk corner opposite A.J. Terrell. He'll probably start in the slot, and if Okudah's not the guy, they'll move on after 1 year, and they'll bump Phillips opposite of A.J. Terrell, and those will be your two outside corners. I think Phillips in round 4, if it doesn't work out, so be it. It's a 4th-round pick. If it does work out, you got a guy who had 6 interceptions last year to lead the Pac-12 in the 4th round of the draft. Cha-ching. That is it for today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out with us. We will sign off, and we'll see everyone later with more Falcons news and rumors.